credible panelists to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Andrea Gregory. I am a rank and file AFSCME member, local 2021. Been in San Antonio starting since 2021, and right when I got here, started being active with the union, helping them with their advocacy, and also trying to get more people organized.
Hi, my name is Andrea. I'm a case manager at Mosaic Family Services, a nonprofit in Dallas, and I'm a member of Mosaic Workers Union. So I help unaccompanied minors get released from the shelters and get set up with resources. And I was on the organizing committee when the organizing effort first started, and now I'm on the bargaining committee for ongoing contract negotiations.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Resha Thomas. I'm the Executive Vice President with the Service Employees International Union in Texas. I'm excited to talk about the ways that we're organizing in this wonderful state.
Good morning, bienvenidos. Linda Morales. I am with the Gulf Coast Area Labor Federation in Houston, Texas. I've been a union member for over 25 years. And right now, what I do with the Gulf Coast Area Labor Federation, I am an organizing coordinator, and I lead two initiatives, very important initiatives. One is the Build Houston Better, focused on raising labor standards through labor policy. And the other one is the Houston President's Organizing Initiative, which fosters cross-union collaboration and long-term organizing strategies. Again, thank you for having us here today. Thank you, Juana.
Thank you all so much. All right, let's dive into it. Workers are organizing in powerful new ways, and more people than ever see unions as trusted institutions that can deliver real change. We are seeing folks come together to build power in their workplaces and their communities. What you're about to hear from this panel, it's a reminder that organizing is bold and complex. It touches everything, from policy fights to political power, from cross-union solidarity to stories we tell. These campaigns aren't just one shop, one local. They are showing us what is possible when we go big and we go all the way. These are examples of what it looks to think bigger. So, hermana Linda, let's start with you. Let's talk about promoting worker rights in the 2026 World Cup. The 2026 World Cup is a major opportunity to advance worker rights, with FIFA pledging a new model that centers labor and human rights. The labor movement is organizing to hold them accountable and ensure that workers involved in games can organize freely, are paid fairly, and that host cities prioritize sustainable, inclusive development. This is a campaign that has been going for many years. I remember in my previous life at Workers' Defense Project in 2019, 2018, where conversations started happening that this was going to be a thing, and we immediately organized and came together and talked about how we're going to include policy and making sure that standards were there. So can you just talk to us about what this campaign is about, how it started, and where we are now?
Absolutely. So the day that Houston was announced to be the host city, one of the host cities for the World Cup, was on June 16 of 2022. And as Ana said, there was a lot of work that went on before. National AFL-CIO was very involved. SEIU, Unite Here. Actually, the Gulf Coast Area Labor Federation had to edge its way or nudge or fight its way in. We brought along the building trades. We brought along AFSCME. We brought along the Painters Union and other unions who would fit the mold of what was going to be happening in the World Cup. So from there, as you said, there were a lot of policies that were worked on, letters, emails, so forth. Houston became the site, and it didn't end there. We had to continue to fight to put language in our requests for proposals. The beautiful thing is that Lacey Wolf, who's our Gulf Coast president, and myself both sit on the Harris County Houston Sports Authority, which the World Cup is the entity that it falls under. It falls under it, but there's still another entity called the host committee. And it's the host committee that is doing all the contracts for the World Cup. We have been working with a consultant or work with a consultant on drafting and crafting certain policies that we wanted. We wanted to make sure that we could organize workers, right? And the second thing is we wanted to use collective bargaining agreements, that weight in contracts and who would apply, who would bid on the World Cup, on festivities. The biggest festivity, thank you, the biggest festivity that we are responsible for, the Sports Authority, is the Fan Festival. The Fan Fest will be held in East End in Houston, Texas. It is going to be a humongous event. If you've seen, the Super Bowls, this one is going to be huge, huge, huge. There is going to be lots of food, a lot of entertainment ongoing, television monitors everywhere so people can see the World Cup. Now that's what we're responsible for. Energy, which is where all the games are going to be held, is being held under the Harris County Sports Convention Corporation, of which our sister Elsa Flores sits on that. So we've been lucky that we have those positions. And let me tell you how we have those positions. We talk about politics. When you screen candidates for election and so forth, you got to use that power. You got to edge them. In Harris County, we have a great commissioner's court. We've got a great city of Houston. Sometimes we have to push them a little bit there, but we do our homework. We hold them accountable because these are the things that working people want. And we're going to make sure that the World Cup, that its workers are safe. And if they're not, we'll be there again. But take my word, they will be safe.
And Linda, like you said, this didn't happen. Like the change that happened in Harris County, it was the labor movement, it was community organizations that came together, that block walk, that elected new folks. And now we have this and other examples of you are talking as policy that are that have now higher standards for workers, which
Exactly.
is incredible.
I'll share. It's a long list of stuff that we gave when we were negotiating of what labor wanted, and I'll tell you what we wanted. We wanted to make sure that there was a minimum wage or prevailing wage. We wanted to make sure that there was workers' comp and insurance. We wanted to make sure that workers had OSHA training and enforcement standards. We wanted heat mitigation plans. We wanted hiring from vulnerable census tracts, and we wanted collective bargaining protections. We wanted labor harmony and non-interference clauses. And we know misclassification is always a big thing. And so we put language in there for misclassification protections, anti-trafficking language, and third-party oversight. And also what they gave us, and we hadn't even asked for it, was a worker center. So we will have space, and this is because of our political work, I'll tell you, for workers pushing. We will have a worker center there at the Fan Festival where union members and community members can talk to the workers, and hopefully we'll get to organize them there. But there's a lot of work that's been done.
Amazing. And Linda, finally, can you just mention which unions were involved and community organizations have been involved in this?
So Workers Defense Project has been involved. The unions, as I said, the building trades have been instrumental. Those folks, I love the building trades. They really are great. Also want to acknowledge my brother, Jeremy. Jeremy is my right arm in our Build Houston Better campaign. And Paul Puente, Wayne, the building trades, SEIU, IATSE, the painters, and Organize Empowering Numbers is now helping us on that worker center rollout. So I apologize if I missed any unions, but those are the ones. Unite Here, SEIU. I hope I said that. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you, Linda. And it's just so incredible to see where and have everything that you have done so far in this campaign just
Been a collective
remembering
effort, not Linda Morales, a collective effort.
collective effort. That's right. But just to see how far it has gone, that it really served as an example in North Texas and just in other places. So thank you so much for all your work and everybody that has been involved in that.
Thank you.
But this really is about just talking of how the political, the policy, coalition building work comes together and support our campaigns. And Resha, I would love for you to share with us the incredible work that y'all are doing in North Texas, organizing the airport. And, you know, city councils are very much involved. There are commissions, there are appointed to that. So just talk to us about where y'all are at.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things to do is talk about the organizing efforts at the DFW airport. For folks who don't know, DFW is the second busiest and about the third largest airport in the United States. So if anybody has flown either American or Southwest, you have either been at Dallas Love Field or you've been at DFW. And if anybody has walked through those terminals, you know that they are immense. I think when we look at the numbers, there are over about 10,000 workers there, 2,500 of those who are contracted, who could be a part of SEIU Texas. These are folks who are cabin cleaners. These are folks who work in baggage. These are folks who work in ticketing. These are the people who are making sure that folks get to and from their places safely. So when we talk about something that massive, we know that it is not just a one-stop shop. You don't just talk to the cabin cleaners, boom, you're done, you organize a contract. That's not how it happens. And when we talk about what happens with the airports, we know that there are many people who are involved. Number one, it is a money maker. Number two, it is an economic driver. So people who work at the airport, their friends, their families, it's almost a community of folks who work there. So when we first started organizing at DFW, we knew, of course, we needed to talk to the workers, but it wasn't the contractors who hired them that was really pulling the strings. Those weren't the people who were setting the wages. And for folks who don't know, those airport workers, so folks who flew here, maybe not drove here, when you see airport workers, they're usually making about $10 to $12, particularly in the DFW. So they're not even making $15 an hour. So these contracted workers, you know, they get hired by a contractor, but when you look at them, they have on American Airlines shirts, but they do not have the benefits of American Airlines staff. So we knew that it wasn't just talking to workers and sitting down with the contractors, because the contractors get their wages set by the airlines, and the airlines are big players too. So in Texas, we talk about a labor movement that's as big as Texas. Texas is also home to a lot of corporations. So just in Dallas alone, it's home to American Airlines. Then 40 minutes down the street, it's home to Southwest. So in order to get those airlines to move, we knew we had to talk to elected officials in each one of those cities. Fort Worth being, I think, and I'm going to ask my coworker Daniel, who knows the facts of it, I think it's the 7th or 8th largest city in Texas. And then of course, Dallas being a little bit ahead of that. But we had to engage the city council members. Well, as we engaged the city council members, they would tell us, oh, well, DFW, it's not in Dallas, it's not in Fort Worth, it's in the middle. I still don't understand that. If anybody can explain that to me, please pull me to the side and explain that, but it's in the middle. So they have a DFW board. And the people who appoint the DFW board members are Fort Worth City Council members and Dallas City Council members. So if we go to the board, they said, well, I'm only going to do what my city elected wants me to do. So we knew it had to be multi-thong. It could not just be talking to workers. It could not just be getting good folks elected. We had to also encourage the DFW board members that this is an issue that is important to them. And we had to talk about it differently. We couldn't just talk about wages, because quite honestly, I think everybody in here could say, I know somebody who should be making a little bit more than what they're making, right? That's not what gets people. We have to talk about safety and security. The airport is not safe if you have people coming in and out of those jobs, right? If you have a loved one who needs help getting on an airport, on and off of airplane, you want somebody who's been working there a while, who knows how to handle with care. So we couldn't just talk about the wages. We had to talk about what this meant for safety and security. And quite honestly, we had to talk about what it meant for the city as well. So it is a long, ongoing process, but it was something that it seemed like once you turned over one rock, it was almost like an onion. You peeled one piece of it back and it's like, oh, wait a second. Now I got to talk to the board members. Oh, wait a second. I got to go back to this elected official. And for us, we had to reimagine what it meant to organize. Gone are the days of just going shop to shop. We said, we cannot do this alone. So number one, and I know we'll get to it, but we need everybody in this room to care about it, right? Like we got to work together, right? And then number two, we had to stop separating politics and organizing. They are together, they go hand in hand. In order for us to win, we have to lean on not just the electeds, but who the electeds appoint. So, thank you all. But it's just important, right? We have to stop. Gone are the days for us being able to separate and be siloed. We have to work together and we have to think about this collectively.
Thank you so much, Resha. And we will get to that. We will get to how everybody here can get involved in that. But can you share a little bit of where we are right now?
Absolutely. So we had a really strong showing in the elections, this last election cycle with our municipal elections in Fort Worth and Dallas, where we endorsed in 11 races. We won 10 out of the 11. So there's still a little bit of room for improvement. But now what we're seeing is folks are coming up to us and saying, we got to get this done. We got to raise wages, right? But it didn't happen overnight. This is something that we've been working on 2-3 years. So fingers crossed, the next Constitutional Convention, we can say that we've officially organized about 2,500 new workers into our union.
Yes, we will. All right, Andrea. Let's talk about y'all's campaign. The services that Mosaic family provides to the refugee, immigrant, and survivor communities of Dallas are vital, especially in the face of unprecedented attacks on refugee and resettlement services from the Trump administration. We talked a lot about this yesterday. We know that these are critical services that would not be possible without you all. So, Andrea, can you just talk to us a little bit about how workers in your organization came together and decided to unionize?
Yeah, so Mosaic is a nonprofit that offers different types of services for refugees, immigrants, survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, things like that. So a lot of us come from those same backgrounds or have experienced some of these things. So it was really about taking that personal experience, right? A lot of us are refugees or immigrants for a reason. We were forcibly displaced or made to make a decision to move our home country, whether that's due to, U.S. foreign policy or U.S. imperialism. This is something that we were able to connect on and talk about, okay, what are the missions and the core values of Mosaic and why we work here, right? So it started out with a petition about speaking up about the genocide in Palestine. And that was kind of when we first started organizing. We were very quickly shut down. And so that second portion, when we were at the end, when we were about to get go public with our campaign, is when the funding cuts came from the current administration. So for those of you who don't know, each state receives money from the federal government for refugee services. So in Texas's case, because our governor did not want that, it was an organization called TexOR, Texas Office of Refugees, that stepped up in order to distribute these funds. So they were actually supposed to pay us in January and February, but they were withholding, I think it was somewhere around $36 million to all the organizations across Texas. So that caused us to temporarily furlough a big chunk of our agency. And so that was really what pushed us towards that final, going public. Yeah.
Amazing. And y'all had voluntary recognition, right? Can you talk a little bit about that process? And you just mentioned the difficulty with the funding, right? And what y'all were facing, workers were being furloughed. Y'all were putting together funds to support y'all. So what other strategies did y'all incorporated into making sure that you were putting pressure into the Texas OR and just making sure that in addition from unionizing, you were trying to get that to happen?
Yeah. So, it was almost a third of our agency that was affected by these furloughs. So we knew we needed to, move with urgency, basically. We wanted to help them with their material needs financially, right? We were crowdfunding. We set up a GoFundMe immediately to help our furloughed staff. And then the other portion was contacting the AFL-CIO. To leverage those connections, those more direct connections to elected representatives and ultimately the administration. So, we got in contact with you all, and we were eventually connected with Representative Julie Johnson and Representative Greg Kassar, and it was multiple representatives actually that came together and sent a letter to kind of urge the administration to release those funds. And it happened, I'm pretty sure, the next day. So that was monumental for us, and we were also talking to IRC. IRC Dallas is another organizing campaign that was really major. They basically helped us, throughout the whole thing in the very beginning. Strategies for how to talk to refugees about organizing and unionizing, right? And they actually have a GoFundMe right now. One of their colleagues was kidnapped and apprehended by ICE. So this is something that, if you would like to participate, you can do that. But yeah, so it was kind of like a multi-pronged, using our resources, our connections with the local community, but with also the bigger greater union, which is AFL-CIO, and then just that material support, the emotional support. We were getting together to talk about how was this going to affect not only our workers but also our clients, right? So this meant that across Texas it was almost 100,000 people losing services that were necessary. So yeah.
Thank you, Andrea. Can you finally tell us a little bit of where y'all at in your campaign?
Yeah, so we're currently in negotiations. We've just submitted our non-economic proposals. We're getting ready to go into the economic proposals. That part is a little more difficult. But yeah, so right now we're trying to fast track the process because in September we've been told that that's kind of when TexOR is no longer. So that means the state gets to decide whether or not they want to distribute out those funds. And we already know what our governor has said in the past about these funds. So we're kind of preparing for, worst case scenario, which is, mass layoffs across Texas, not only in our campaign. So yeah, it's really going to take, a lot of organizing to make sure people have good severance packages, and for the time being, like protections, especially with this population, right? We talked about safety in the workplace, right? Making sure we have some strong protections against immigration or just different attacks from all types of sources, such as just all different types of things. But yeah, we're trying to move quickly so that we can make sure to help our coworkers.
Well, I know that folks in this panel and in this room, we stand in solidarity with you all. So just call us to action. Hello.
Hello.
Andrew, last year, San Antonio voters overwhelmingly passed Proposition D, a historic ballot measure that struck down a 1951 era ban preventing city employees from engaging in local elections. Y'all use a range of strategies from petitioning to public testimony to direct advocacy, political organizing. So tell us a little bit about y'all's campaign and what came of it.
Sure. So, my involvement was in 2024 when the opportunity for amending to the political process for city employees came about. Folks might know, AFSCME is the representative of city unions in San Antonio, but there is no bargaining contract. There's a whole deal with them not being able to do that. That goes back to the last census. But an opportunity arose itself when instead of using direct bargaining, to use an alternative method, which was to gain greater connections to both elected officials and also the general public. With the charter amendment, we were there at every public comment period. We had rank and file members, we had staff, we had our regional heads come in to speak as well. We went to different shops, different locations around the city, that anyone who could come out at this time for this event, come in. You can sign up to speak. If not sign up to speak, sign up to be a speaker so you can donate time for people to talk. We did our best to flood those commission meetings. And even then we had some resistance, some hemming and hawing from the commission. They were usually made up of people in either like the business community or academics, or some people who weren't inherently sympathetic to our cause. But what I will say is something that even they had and everyone else in the city demonstrated was a strong sense of fairness. The fact that we did not have this ability to participate, whereas the uniformed employees, the fire and police departments, did have this ability to, for individuals to just, even individuals to block walk, to phone bank. The future mayor just walked on past. That was something that, due to the passing of Proposition D, that we were able to immediately participate in, and which everyone at AFSCME is proud about participating in as well.
So do you feel, how does it feel now that, Resha was telling me that before employees couldn't have a bumper sticker in their cars?
You could say it feels liberating. It feels empowering. It feels as if in a totally dark room there was a light, right? And it's not as if the light came from some sort of divine providence. It was something that we created ourselves, something that our sweat and our toil helped made for us, which is incredibly gratifying.
Amazing, thank you. Yes. All right. So this question is for everybody, and I'll let you all decide who goes first. But can you tell us, how do you all, and Resha, you talked a little bit about this, but how do you all see your campaign connecting to the larger labor movement?
I can add, I think when we went into the DFW area, we knew that we were not the first union there. We're not going to bring in a great movement, but we wanted to be supportive. So one of the things that we did was we called the Texas AFL and we said, listen, we want to go in. Who do you know? Who should we connect with? We connected with the CLC as well, right? So for us, we saw this as an opportunity for us to expand the conversation of what's happening in labor, right? You know, we know that the building trades, we know that there are a lot of other unions that get play, right? That are what people think about when they first think about unions. And we said, well, we want to add to that. So that was the first thing that we did, and why we think that we're adding to the labor movement. I also think a win for one union is a win for all unions, right? So if we can go in and we can say, hey, we're organizing airport service workers, then I think that helps the city employees ask for a little bit more money, right? Which was something we were able to do in Fort Worth. But that also helps the concessionaires, that helps the plumbers, right? So it's like, if we win, we all win. So I was talking to one of my brothers from Hope yesterday, and I said, your ears must be ringing because I've been bragging about the contract that y'all won in Houston. Because I know that when they get higher wages or more protections for their workers, that's something that we can replicate. So for me, it's about expanding what the labor movement looks like, including more folks. And then number two, being able to talk about the victories. Andrew, I'm excited that for the first time, city employees in San Antonio are able to not just cast their ballots for an elected official, but be a part of the process of selecting who it is and putting in some sweat in order to get that person elected. That's a win, not only for you all, but that's a win that we can all talk about across this great state.
I'll add a little bit to that question. The list of workforce standards that I mentioned, they just didn't happen overnight. They happened because we had pushed them with the city, we pushed them with the county, we set a precedent there during Hurricane Harvey under that then mayoral administration. Reluctantly, he let us in to work on those standards, to work on rebuilding Houston. We did a good job. We did a great job. So we set the precedents there, as well as with the county. We just didn't go to the county and say, trust us. We showed them we could do it, and we did it. And so what I read off for the World Cup, they haven't been yet implemented into an RFP, but my understanding is that there has been a contractor who won the bid to do all the fan festival work. We're hoping that it's going to be a union contractor. And so I've asked our folks, have you gotten a rejection letter? They've told me no. So far we're still there hoping, but a lot of the work has a lot of our wins have been because we've done the work, and we know we can do it, and we know we can do it well. And so those things just didn't come because we said we wanted them. They came because of the hard work that the labor community has done in Houston.
I wanted to expound upon something that Resha mentioned, which was this kind of domino effect, because I can say, well, during the Proposition D campaign, a lot of residents, a lot of city employees, they didn't know exactly what they could and couldn't do. Just the fact that it was able to be a political campaign in the first place, and not necessarily political in terms of electoral elections, but political in terms of engagement with the political process, like the charter amendment, is a way to build awareness. And the success on that means greater normalization on this idea of first public sector unions, and then from there leading towards certain sectors in the private sector. And pie in the sky right now for me, but what I'd like to see as an end state would be chipping away at Texas right to work.
Who's in?
Yeah, so Mosaic is a nonprofit. A lot of times people are like, you can organize nonprofits, and yes, so it was a lot of talking to other nonprofits in the area, and labor has a great way of connecting people through the same struggles, right? Labor exploitation, wage theft, these are all things that we all experience. But particularly this population of refugee and immigrants, right? Sometimes these strategically marginalized people are, more vulnerable to these things, right? We're grateful to be here. We're grateful for these opportunities, right? But that doesn't mean we put our rights on the back burner, right? So, Texas, one in six people in Texas is an immigrant. So, I'm not going to say that our value is attached to what we can produce in the labor. It's attached to our humanity, right? We are neighbors, coworkers, friends. So, yeah, I think we're a very important part of the labor movement.
Amazing. Resha, what's your call to action?
My call to action. I think the call to action is already happening. I think During this convention, I've been talking to folks about how can we connect around the airports and DFW. But I think my call to action is let's share our victories together and let's be all in for each other's fight, right? Because, this is about chipping away at right to work in the state of Texas. So I hope for folks that they'll continue to have conversations. I think for DFW, if I have any folks, I think y'all are District 8 in the DFW area. Thank you. I see you all. But we would love to continue to work with you all. We've done it earlier this year. We want to continue to work to finally get us to the finish line so that workers not just have more money in their pockets so they can stay in their regions, but also so they can have respect at the job. Because this is what it's really about, is people having respect at the job.
Thank you. And know that for us at the Texas AFL-CIO, for the organizing department, and for everybody in this room, as you're having campaigns, we're here to support you. I'm here to support you. The rest of our team is here to support you. From joining your organizing committee, to connecting you with elected officials, just to helping you with communication strategy, anything there is, we are here to support you all. Every one of you is inspiring. I am so proud to work with you all. Thank you for everything that you do for workers in our state. And let's give it an applause for everybody. Thank you all so much. Mr. President, you're up.